Hi, this is Mrs. Shope. Today's objective is to be able to multiply powers with the same base, find powers of powers, and find powers of products. This is Chapter 10, Section 2 of the Big Ideas Math book, and it is a chapter or a grade 8 standard. On our first page, we're going to multiply bases that are the same. When my multiply bases are the same, I add the exponents. So x to the third to the fourth, I would add 3 plus 4 to get x to the 7th. X to the third is the same as multiplying 3x's. X to the fourth is the same as multiplying 4x's. So if I write out what it means to multiply, you'll notice that I'm multiplying 7x's altogether. That's why my answer is x to the 7th, or I add 3 plus 4 to get 7. The next problem says negative 5 to the second times negative 5 to the fourth. So the bases are the same, they're both negative 5s. So I'm going to add 2 plus 4. I'm going to add my exponents, and this would be negative 5 to the 6th. When I take a to the 6th times a to the 5th, the bases are the same, they're both a's. So I can add 6 plus 5 to get 11. This would be a to the 11th. 4 times 4 to the 7th, this 4 is really to the first power. So when I take 4 to the first times 4 to the 7th, I would add 1 plus 7 to get 8. This would be 4 to the 8th. Okay, your turn. Try number 1. Alright, on number 1, my bases are both a 2. So when I take 2 to the third times 2 to the second, your answer should be 2 to the 5th, because you're adding 3 plus 2 to get 5. Try number 2. Negative 8 to the third times negative 8 to the 5th would be the number negative 8 to the 8th power, because you're adding 3 plus 5. Try number 3. X to the third times x to the 7th, I would add the 3 plus 7, see if you had x to the 10th. Try number 4. This c is to the first power. C to the first times c to the second, I would add 1 and 2 to get 3. If you had c to the third, you are correct. Okay, our next page is when we take a power to a power. When we take a power to a power, we multiply the exponents. So 3 to the 5th to the 3rd, I would multiply the 5 and the 3 to get 3 to the 15th. If I took 2 to the 3rd to the 2nd, I would multiply the 3 and 2 to get 2 to the 6th. The reason we multiply the exponents is because 2 to the 3rd to the 2nd means a 2 to the 3rd times a 2 to the 3rd. So if I use what I learned on the previous page and I'm multiplying, I would add the 3 plus 3 to get the 6. Or think about 2 to the 3rd. That means multiply 3 2's. This 2 to the 3rd means multiply 3 2's. Notice I'm multiplying 6 2's altogether. So this would be 2 to the 6th. The next one is y to the 2nd to the 4th. Well, when I take a power to a power, I multiply the exponents. So 2 times 4 would give me y to the 8th. Okay, your turn. Try 2 to the 5th to the 2nd. Alright, I would multiply 5 times 2. The answer would be 2 to the 10th. Try x to the 2nd to the 6th. Okay, x to the 2nd to the 6th, I would take the 2 times 6. If you had x to the 12th, you are correct. Try y to the 3rd to the 7th. If I take a power to a power, I should be multiplying 3 times 7. The correct answer is y to the 21st. Okay, my last skill is to find the power of a product. So if I take 2x to the 4th power, this means the same as 2 to the 4th times x to the 4th. What you're doing is taking both the 2 and the x to the 4th power because it's in parentheses. If I multiply 2 to the 4th, 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. This would be a 16 to the x, times x to the 4th. So 16x to the 4th. On the second one, since 3a to the second b are all in parentheses, you're taking them all to the 3rd power. So I would have 3 to the 3rd. But then if I take an a to the 2nd to the 3rd, if I take a power to a power, I multiply the exponents 2 times 3 to get 6. Then I would have a b to the 3rd. You can think of this b as b to the 1st. And then when you take a power to a power, you multiply 1 times 3 to get 3. Then I could go ahead and find 3 to the 3rd, which is 3 times 3, 9 times 3. This would be a 27, a to the 6, b to the 3rd. Okay, on the next problem, I'm noticing negative 2 is in parentheses. So I've got to take the number negative 2 to the 5th. This is like an m to the 1st. So I could just multiply 1 times 5 to get 5. This is an n to the 1st. I could take 1 times 5 to get 5. But I could go ahead and find negative 2 to the 5th power, which means multiply 5 negative 2's. So let's see, a negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. A negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. If I take 4 times 4, I get 16. But I have to multiply by another negative 2. So a positive times a negative will give me a negative 32. And then I would have an m to the 5th, n to the 5th. Okay, on this next one, I'm taking 7xy to the 4th to the 2nd. So this would be the same as 7 to the 2nd, x to the 2nd, y to the, when I take y to the 4th to the 2nd, I would multiply 4 times 2 to get 8. Then I could go ahead and say, well, 7 to the 2nd would be 7 times 7, 49. My answer is 49, x to the 2nd, y to the 8th. Okay, I'm going to have you try some. Try number 1. Okay, let's check. So this would be a 3 to the 4th times a c to the 4th. Well, 3 to the 4th would be 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. If you had 81 c to the 4th, you were correct. Try number 2. Okay, this would be the number negative 4 to the 2nd, then x to the 2nd, y to the 2nd. Well, negative 4 to the 2nd is a negative 4 times negative 4. This would be a positive 16, x to the 2nd, y to the 2nd. All right, number 3, we're taking 1/5 r t to the 5th to the 2nd. Try this one. Okay, this would mean 1/5 to the 2nd, r to the 2nd, but when I take t to the 5th to the 2nd, I would multiply 5 times 2 to get t to the 10th. 1/5 to the 2nd means 1/5 times 1/5. If I multiply, I would get 1/25 r to the 2nd, t to the 10th. All right, hopefully you did well on the problems we tried today. Again, our objective was to multiply powers with the same base, find powers of powers, and find powers of products. If you need to, you can go back and review the lesson and play the video again. Your assignment today is page 420, numbers 3 through 22 all, on the Big Ideas website. So you're going to go to the Perry Township website, click on Big Ideas, and we're working on page 420, numbers 3 to 22, which is section 10.2 in your Big Ideas book. Thank you.